This is the third annual CSAD Global Readathon. We focus on journeys that have moved people across towns, countries, and oceans.
Now, if you're just joining us, this year's theme, Roots, the Journey of Us. Our story begins where life itself began, in Africa. The transatlantic slave trade uprooted millions of people, forcibly transporting them to foreign lands, scattered across the globe, subjected to hostility that denied their humanity. According to historians, the slave trade moved 10 to 12 million Africans across the Atlantic to the Americas. In our first hour, we explored the Great Migration, when 6 million African Americans left the South for the North in search of new opportunities and freedom. It's a powerful story, one that we'll continue unpacking throughout our show, so I want you to stay with us. And now, also, we want to unpack some history. Now, there's a team of researchers at Georgia State University. They've been working to uncover the names and locations of more than 5,000 enslaved individuals and slave owners who lived in Georgia before the Civil War. Now, this effort is known as the Data Mining and Mapping Antebellum Georgia Project. It is led by Dr. Elizabeth West and Dr. Joshua Jackson. Well, they're joining Monica now in the reading room to share more about this groundbreaking research. Monica.
Thank you, Suzanne. I am here, of course, with Dr. West and Dr. Jackson. So let's start out talking about why this project is so important, Dr. West.
The importance of the project, to my mind, is that it gets us beyond a long-standing myth that because African American enslaved people were not named on some of the most common documents that we know, for instance, namely the census report, that because we can't locate them by name in those kind of records, that we can't go back and recreate those individuals, the lives of those individuals.
It's like they didn't exist.
Yeah, it's right. It's, you know, we don't know their names, so there's no way we can investigate their lives. And this has been the ongoing presumption in academia and just in, you know, at large in the public.
Well, you know, Georgia Public Broadcasting theme is focused on that Great Migration. So how does understanding the past migrations help us get to where we want to be?
Well, in Georgia, what's really important and that allowed us to do this project is the land. The land in Georgia has been divvied up according to the Georgia land lotteries, and the land lots that we've used since that time, the early 1800s, have stayed the same. We continue to use them in our real estate records to this day. That continuity allows us to track people where they lived with some more precision than we're able to do in other areas. And it allows us to know exactly how and when they might be moving more closely. So that migration for enslaved Africans and for their enslavers, which you kind of have to follow in order to track where the enslaved African peoples lived, is remarkably possible in this state. And we're trying to do that and track those migrations here.
So how do you cultivate estate records, land, deeds, and even slave schedules like someplace in Harris County?
Well, I'll have to give Josh a lot of credit for that. When we first started on the project, we started on it actually not in its present form, but much smaller scale, and that is just looking for an enslaved family in Georgia. And to do that, we had to go to the archives. We had to just research every record we thought might be related, that might give us some information. And what we found, and I'll use Josh's term, because I love that term, you know, we triangulated. There were three main sources that when you put those together, you can come up with some amazing information. So that's where we started. And once we saw what we could do with this single project, we were ready to take off.
Well, quickly, what does this mean? How can this be used for those of us in Georgia?
So what the folks at Georgia State are doing with this is building a database. So the goal for the project is to take maps from the 1800s alongside of 1850 slave schedules and the land records to triangulate exactly where these folks lived. The ultimate goal is to collaborate with other genealogical companies, including FamilySearch.org, who has been a phenomenal collaborator with the project at Georgia State, and allowed the investigators to use those resources that are all digitized to find their ancestors and to create what will eventually become something that many people will be able to plot the locations of their ancestors on maps, ideally. That's the goal. There are many steps that need to take place in order for that to happen, but that's the goal.
That's a great goal.
Yeah.
Well, now we're going to go back to Suzanne. Suzanne, I was thinking, when the drummers were playing, do you remember when in the French Quarter they were not allowed to play drums because they thought they were messaging?
And the language of drums, though, right?
Yes.
I mean, that is the language of Africa, and so many people, they communicated through drums, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It has so much cultural relevance as well. And it's amazing. Like, this whole place was shaking when they were performing. Thank you, Monica. Thank you all.